But it got me thinking overall that we need to talk about that more often. We've had just random issues happen, at Good Shepherd over the years where something just doesn't work right, or it's glitchy, or it's freezing. And it always came down to our internet speed and our connectivity.
Well, welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Questions and Answers with Red River Leadership. Today we're talking about live streaming, as well as just catching up because it's been a while. How are you, John?
I'm doing good. Sorry, I'm just pulling up our live stream here. I'm doing really well. It's been a good couple of weeks here. Getting ready for some summer planning, summer stuff at Good Shepherd, and kind of what our next phase of reopening looks like and how we're going to go about doing things. So it's been busy, a lot of brainstorming, but a lot of good planning in the process. So
yeah, and I don't, it doesn't sound like for you, but I sound like I just sang all night last night.
I feel the same way. Woke up this morning. Good morning, honey. Oh my gosh.
I do this thing where I'm like, hey, yeah. I worshipped all night. And now I sound like this.
When you think about it, like with pre-recording, I used to be, and you too, we'd go like leading a full worship on every Wednesday and every Sunday, every single week. So like your voice is just in a different place. And so coming together and doing a concert, I got a little nervous because I was like, oh man, I haven't done this in a while. And
a lot different vocal load.
Right.
But I think so. Yeah, John and I and Red River and some of our musicians from Calvary Worship here in Alexandria were at TAC Music Venue in Moorhead, or in Dilworth, technically. If you don't know about TAC Music, look them up, like them on Facebook, because just an incredible music venue where the music comes first, and we love music. So, but last night we got to do some music there, and it was magical. Things were hitting right. There were some worshipful, like really worshipful moments, and there was dancing, there was singing, and it was great. So you have to deal with my post-singing voice and my sunburn. So it's a great combination.
My sunburn.
Yeah. You've been looking like Rudolph.
Well, it's part of the deal. You're a Minnesota boy, or North Dakota boy.
Right, I know. Oh, there's sun in April. It's crazy. But yeah, John and I got to do some of that last night. He and I have been traveling a little bit. We have been traveling separate with families and friends. And then we also were in St. Petersburg.
St. Peters.
I'm just adding words now.
St. Petersburg, Tinsonville.
Working with an incredible worship team at Gustavus, and a few little projects here and there, and it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been really good.
And are you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna go. Yeah.
So you've got some drive-in worships coming up.
Yep, we got drive-in worships, so we're working through the gear that we're going to use for that. We've got a mobile system, an outdoor system, and we've had some issues along the way with a couple of those pieces. So now we're kind of going through and making sure that everything's working right, because Sunday morning comes quick and goes quick, and we want to have as much ready to go as we can. So working through some of that inventory right now, and just the best overall flow for an outdoor worship experience. That's just different, and each location or indoor, outdoor time of the week, mornings, evenings, everything kind of changes the way we do what we do and how we lead. So we're working through some of that right now too. And it's been good. What's new at Calvary this weekend?
We are preparing our volunteers with a service in our new worship space. So this will be the first time leading worship at Calvary for over a year in person. And then it's also the first time ever in this new worship space that we built this last year. So it's
Awesome.
it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
scary. It's like I don't know what to do with my hands sometimes. Like, what do I say? Where do I look?
I was so nervous for last night for that reason.
Just,
you know, it was the first time being in front of a group again, and like, how do we lead?
Right.
It was crazy.
And I think it just naturally happens, but there's prior to that, there's certainly some, for me, I'm not going to speak for you, but there's some anxiety in that.
I was nervous.
Do I remember how to do this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get nervous often, but usually I'm not like, you know,
it's more like, oh yeah, like a good nervous energy. And I think for this, it's like, I just not even sure how to do it anymore.
Yeah, I know what I do.
I think it'll happen. Yeah, I don't know. So that's exciting. And then we've got a confirmation event too. Normally in the fall for us, for a lot of people, and we haven't had one since October of 2019. So 2 services, and then we are working our way into worship in person in Memorial Day for traditional, be at our church, and then we're at the lake. And we just ordered a huge LED screen where we'll be doing lyrics and announcements and videos to have outdoors. So that once we get that purchased and built out, that'll be a video that we do too.
Wow.
LED screen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah. Excited to learn. Another thing, like have no idea what to do with my hands. But we'll figure it out. It'll be great.
Well, hey, I want to jump into one question that we had this week. It came in over email. Pastor we're working with, and he said that they moved to Switcher Studio this year. They wanted something just cheap, mobile. They weren't ready to invest in anything yet. They're definitely well down the road, but he just said, what do you recommend for, I mean, it's as low of a cost as we can, you know? And so I told him to go with Switcher Studio and make sure he was running audio clean though, similar to what we're doing today, like making sure that you get your audio directly into your live stream. And that it's just very clean and not just picking up off of whatever cameras you might be using. So they did Switcher Studio, and that's the iPad system that we've talked about quite a bit on here. It's great on the fly. It's great for mobile stuff. It's great for outside.
Great for volunteers.
Right. Very user
who don't
friendly.
know too much. Like it's very beginner friendly.
Yep. We used it here for many years, and we still have an account with them because we'll use it for outside stuff. And we're not streaming our services though when we go outdoor right now. We're still going to do the pre-recorded online. We can just do a much better, much higher value production when we do it inside and pre-recorded. So we're going to stick with that while we're outside. We're not going to try to stream outside yet. There's just too many errors. I mean, for me, I really don't like streaming outside because like you have to fight the wind, you have to fight sun and the light, and there's too many unpredictables for me to even make it worth it. I'd rather record something inside, make it really nice, put it together, stream that for Sunday morning.
Right.
But anyway, so we were talking a little bit.
That's Switcher Studio.
That's Switcher Studio. But we were talking about it, and they're doing it indoor though. So, and they had just they were working through some things, and they said that their iPad kept freezing, and they're using 4, I believe it was, four cameras, and then a Switcher app. So they have awesome. 5 iPads. And I told them early on when we were first talking about it, I said, if you're going to run 5 devices, like make sure you have dedicated bandwidth, dedicated internet access to it. He said, okay. So they're working on that. But it got me thinking overall that we need to talk about that more often. We've had just random issues happen, you know, at Good Shepherd over the years where something just doesn't work right, or it's glitchy, or it's freezing. And it always came down to our internet speed and our connectivity, that we weren't able to. And what we had been doing is we had a router. We have what's called a mesh network, kind of not a cloud, it's like a mesh. So there's 5 different routers, maybe 6 different routers, and they all talk to each other, and they kind of create this mesh network. So if you're walking through the building on Wi-Fi, it will hand off to like the next router as you're going through the building. So we had one of those, or we had that installed a while back. And we thought just by connecting to the one closest to the sanctuary that we'd be fine, right? I mean, these are commercial grade routers. They're supposed to be pretty solid. But we found that we were sharing bandwidth and access with other devices that were on the network, other devices that were accessing the Wi-Fi. So other staff that are in the office, or if anybody's got their phones logged in, like that's all pulling data down from your Wi-Fi access, from your access points.
So you are streaming worship and maybe communicating between the team on an internet-based app, as a teenager is watching TikTok during the sermon, and grandma's trying to Facebook message somebody, and so all of those things are taken from the same spot.
Right. And we all like to think no one's on their phones during church, but everyone's on their phones. It's just part of the deal. And as a church, you need to be hospitable and not say, put your phones away. And they're all going to go, oh, okay. And then pull it back out again later. Like it's not, it is what it is. We just have to be hospitable and be welcoming of using phones and just being on their phone and whatever. I mean, don't encourage it, but you know, like don't like,
but just
plan for it, like prepare for it. Know that they're going to be accessing your internet, especially if it's free, especially if they can just log in. If it's a way that you're being hospitable as a team to offer free Wi-Fi at your church, just know it's going to be used, and that's going to change then your access for your live stream. So what we had to do at Good Shepherd is we had a Ethernet jack to connect to it right in our sound booth. And so we bought a separate router altogether. So it does not work with the other mesh system that I was talking about. We bought a separate one that just plugs in, and the only things connected to that router at the time were switcher devices. So we knew the only thing talking in that router itself was switcher. And that was a game changer for us. We didn't have anything freezing after that. It was a dedicated router, dedicated access point for our live stream. And today we use the exact same router still. We have our computers hardwired into it. So anything that we're streaming goes directly through that router instead of through like the whole other internet system that we have. So dedicated internet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so important to do that. And I just wanted to give examples like why you need one, because everybody's drawing from the internet, even if they're not on it.
Even if it's just your 5 staff phones. I mean, and you forget how many things are auto logging into it. So like you think, oh, it's Sunday, no one's like working. Well, yeah, but all of your phones are still pulling content. And you know, if you have push notifications set up where it's fetching data, I mean, it's just gonna drag down that internet speed.
And I'd say we've had this come up many different times in the past. Like, we're having troubles with this, and then we get on a Zoom to talk to them and try and figure out some solutions, and we can't even do a Zoom with them because their internet is so slow. And both John and I, over the last year, doing a lot of work from home, we realized that with all the uploading and downloading of videos and content that we're doing, that our speed test, like our speed is just too slow for uploads and downloads. And there's not a magic number. I would say it's different everywhere you go. So you just have to feel free to ask us individually if you have questions about this. But, you know, we're talking to these people and they're like, we're trying to send you our service to prepare for the weekend as we edit videos for worship services. And they're like, but it's taking 8 years for us to upload this. We're like, well, what's your
legit like 8 hours, because it's like 1 up or 2 up or 0.5 up. And that's a reality that a lot of rural churches are dealing with, is just internet speeds.
And so if you're streaming and connecting cameras and your speed is 0.5, I think when I checked prior to the switch this last summer, I was at 0.2 up. Like, wow, ridiculous, right? And I think we were getting like 5 down. So that was not going to cut it for us. An app that John told me about, or a website, is just speedtest.net. And you hit the go and you do it 3 different times. You do a test 3 different times, write down the numbers and average them out. And that's kind of the best way to find where you're at. And if it's, not meeting your needs, then it's time to have a conversation with your internet provider. And if they can't do it and you have options, then check in with different ones too. Again, this doesn't necessarily work for everybody, but just making sure that you have enough. Especially if you are starting to run streaming and starting to do different things and using more technology. It's just important that the host of all the things that you are doing is big enough.
I talked to this church, smaller church, Southern Minnesota, and this was a few months ago now, but they realized, I think it came off of a conversation about uploading videos, and they're like,
Right.
I have to let it run all night, like to get it done by Friday, so it's ready for Saturday, Sunday. And I was like, well, what are your speeds? And they looked up their speeds, and just it was really low. And so I said, can you upgrade that? And they found out that for not that much, they could like quadruple their speeds. And they went from literally 5 or 10 down, 2 or 3 up, to I think it was like 50 down and 10 to 12 up. And they were like, oh my gosh, everything's faster. We used to hit like go on something and then we'd all have to wait for that one thing to finally upload, transfer it over, and then transfer this way. So their entire workflow during the week sped up and changed. And it was less like waiting for things to happen on the internet because they didn't have the speeds before. So not only, when you're thinking about upgrading this thing, it's not just for your live stream. It's not just for your production team. It's not just for, the things that you're trying to do with worship. It's like, it's your whole workflow. It's your whole speed throughout the office. If you use any cloud-based servers or I don't know what your setup is currently. We talked about that a little bit last week. With Dropbox and things. If you're using Dropbox as the team or any kind of an online Google Drive, OneDrive, any of that kind of program, you need to have good internet speeds in order to use that properly and enjoy using it.
Even just emails, like, think about it like, oh, it takes 10 seconds to get into my email. Well, that's fine for that day, but you do that 400 times over a year. Like if you can cut that in half, like that'll save you, it just adds up.
Right.
But I think in like this tech world, as we continue to get more techie in churches so that we can spread the gospel further and further and connect with more and more people, sometimes we're doing these new things and something doesn't work, and we look for the hardest, smallest thing going wrong first before we look at the most obvious, most present. What is hosting all of this, like the internet? So I think that's kind of the point today, is like, is this something that's holding you up, and is this something that you can check on? So because everything you do is going to work through this internet.
Right. It will all improve. Talk with your provider first. I would look at their plans, look online, look at your last bill, see what you currently are paying for, run some tests, get some accurate numbers. Like Nolan said, go to speedtest.net and run 3 of them about a minute or so apart. And then take your average between the 3. Sometimes you'll get one goofy result that doesn't make sense, but the other 2 line up, pretty well. But that'll give you a good baseline. Then talk to your provider and say, hey, we're looking at upgrading this. What does it look like? And so for some very rural churches, one product that's going to be coming out, Starlink is what it's called, and it's built by SpaceX, and SpaceX is all over the map right now. They're working on a lot of things to get people to the moon, get people to Mars. If you're not just following their story and their developments with NASA, especially, make sure you take a look at some of their latest stories and videos. It's pretty fascinating, the things that they're doing. But one of the things that they're doing is they're trying to, and they are putting in and installing in our lower atmosphere satellites for satellite internet. And so this is called Starlink, and you're going to hear about this more and more coming out. They're running beta tests all over the world right now. Their entire goal is to get the world able to be connected to the internet. There's places that if wires haven't been dug out to a farm, if wires haven't been dug out to rural areas, middle of nowhere across the seas. I mean, there's so many different places that do not have the access that we have become so normal to and accustomed to. There's places in the world that have no idea what that's like and how that works. So all that to say, they're going to be coming out with more and more ways to connect to the internet. So know that that's coming. What I would also do, wherever you're watching from, if you're in a place that does not have internet or it's bad or low speed internet, I would go to starlink.com, whatever it is. Just Google search Starlink, go to their website, type in your address, and it will talk about how much it will cost to reserve your spot once they roll out in your area. So I would do the research on that. If you're stuck right now and don't have access, or you're waiting on your local company to finally dig the wire out to you, Starlink might be available sooner than that happens. So something to look into and just be aware of.
So
it's
cool.
fascinating. It's absolutely like these satellites are constantly in orbit, thousands of satellites, and they all like beam down.
It's like
internet. It's fascinating.
It's like the mesh that you have at Good Shepherd, where they all connect, or we have at Calvary, where you find that it's like that, except in space. Space.
Yeah, it's like it's happening. And we've talked about, like, you've heard stories and theories and ideas, and like, oh, maybe someday in the future. Yeah, no, it's literally happening this year, where the
future
entire
is
world
now.
will have, where the whole world will have internet access, and pretty affordable. That's like Elon Musk's whole idea. Elon Musk owns SpaceX. His whole thing is like, we want affordable internet access for everyone on the planet. And just to be able to do that, to be able to communicate with people, is key. That's what we're here for. So,
well, cool. Well, it's been great talking with you today, John, and you everywhere. If you have questions, email us, redriverworship@gmail.com. You can comment in the Facebook comments, the YouTube comments, send us a message. We are just here to help however we can.
Yes, we are. I do not have the image I was trying to find.
It is no longer here.
I usually have an image that throws it.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, there's an image that you're seeing right now. Isn't that nice?
All right. Well, God bless.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Nolan. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.